It's great to have you here. I just wanted to ask a few questions about the app that you developed, okay? So the first one is this. As a user, what will I expect by using the Orai app? What's my experience going to be?
Think of Orai like your own personal speech coach, available to you anywhere, anytime. You simply take out the app, hit record, and start speaking, and Orai listens. And then it analyzes your speech, and using artificial intelligence, it gives you instant feedback on your vocal delivery.
So just with a click of a button.
Just a tap.
Okay. So how would I use that? I mean, we have many different roles in business these days.
Yeah.
If I were in sales or I was a general business manager, how would that Orai app help me?
Take an example of a salesperson. Salespeople are always on the phone call trying to pitch their product, pitch the company, and you only have one shot and you want to make the most of it. So what do? You use Orai to practice that conversation that you're going to have with a prospect or with your customer and nail it down in Orai and see the feedback Orai would give. And we have a few salespeople who have told us that they used it on practicing their calls and they said, oh my God, I had around 20 ums. I'm glad Orai pointed that out before I went into the real deal. And if you're not a salesperson, you're always doing presentations. You always have that high stakes meeting, either in the boardroom or outside. And again, you only have one shot. That's the way you're perceiving yourself. And so you want to practice on Orai, get to know what your metrics are before going into the real place. And if you're not a manager or an executive, even if you're early in your career, they say that effective communication is one of those top soft skills. It's never too early to start getting better at it, especially if you want to rise up and be in those managerial positions.
What's some of the feedback that the Orai app gives me? So you said with a click of a button, I can speak into the app.
Yeah.
What is it telling me?
The app tells you about your use of filler words, if you use too many ums, so's, which are those hedging words which kind of disturb the fluency of your speech. It tells you about your pacing. Did you speak too fast or did you speak too slow, and just like blaze through your entire speech? And it tells you about your variation in energy. Do you deliver at the right tone? Do you sounding too monotone and not exciting the audience to what you really want to? So it tells you about all of those aspects, and it tells you about your clarity. Do you sound clear? Did you enunciate your words properly?
So can I trick the Orai app? Can I add additional ums and ahs?
So Orai is smart. Orai knows if you're purposely putting in ums and uhs, it will know the difference and will not pick those out. Because when you really have a filler word, when you middle of a sentence like that, that's what a real filler word is, and Orai will pick those out only.
That sounds like fun. So now, let me ask you a really tough question. How is Orai different from other apps like this in the marketplace? We have so many apps on the App Store.
You see, at the core of Orai is artificial intelligence. Orai not only is able to give you feedback instantaneously, as soon as you hit stop, Orai's feedback. You don't have to wait an hour or two. You get feedback instantaneously, and moreover, the AI learns as you practice more and more. It knows your patterns. It learns and adapts to those needs.
So tell me more. As AI, that sounds really smart. So you're telling me that the app is getting to know me and how I speak.
For Orai, any conversation around an AI starts first with the data. For us, we started out with a data set of TED Talks. How do we analyze TED Talks and put that into our system to make our system better? So we analyzed these TED Talks and looked at patterns in energy and pacing and how good speakers in there had done that. But today, we have data of more than 2,000 hours of speech from people across the world. And what we've done is we've trained algorithms called neural nets, in which they are mapped to certain inputs of speeches from across the world and certain outputs that are points of feedback given by professional coaches, such as what is your energy, how are you sounding confident. So Orai takes in all this data and maps it to certain aspects of your speech, and then helps you become a better speaker based on your speech patterns.
And all of these are backed by years of research. Academia has had computational linguistic research papers on how do humans perceive good speech. And they say that there are hundreds of factors, all the way from wearing your pace up and down to having too many filler words. And many of these papers outline that these are the top 4 areas that make a huge difference. And any variation in one of these or improvement can really help you sound more confident. And that's why Orai picks out on your filler words, your pace, your energy, and your clarity.
So how is this app then used with the Mandel program on the Breakthrough Communicator?
So Mandel brings in all this world-class expertise, the content, the theory, and that's why this was a very good partnership. On one hand, you have guided lessons on different areas of effective communication created by Mandel, and with Orai, you have the artificial intelligence giving users instant feedback on those practice materials. So when paired up with the Breakthrough Communicator, the online course, it's again having your own personal speech coach by your side. You might be looking at some videos on how to practice different methodologies, but this is just theory. It makes a difference when you put it into practice and you have Orai by your side listening to you.
So what you're saying, in other words, then, is this app is integrated with the lessons on the Breakthrough Communicator.
Exactly. If in week 2, let's say, you're learning about effective pausing, and then you have an exercise that tells you to punctuate your pauses, take time, you can actually practice those in Orai and get points for that course.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, and that's a critical part, right? The practice, the fact that you have to practice to become a better speaker. Along with the theory, you need to really drill down and use it every day so that you're able to deliver as effectively as you can.
So in other words, this app was sort of, it's like being an athlete. It's helping me create muscle memory
Exactly.
for how I should pause and the energy I should use in my voice.
Yeah, think if you want to go on this journey, it's exactly like being an athlete. You have to go to the gym every day. You have to practice those steps. Same with public speaking. It needs to become a muscle memory.
So soft skills has always been in an interesting area. And most people think you can't practice soft skills unless you're in person, like we are. How does the Orai app measure progress for me as a user with soft skills?
So we have these 4 areas, right? We know, let's say you come into Orai in week 1. Over the span of 3 weeks, you have done around 10 sessions. We can quantitatively track and measure how many filler words per minute you had on average at the beginning and how many do you have now. And looking at our data sets, we have seen a very steep drop. It's something like flicking on someone's mindset that, oh, there's something like filler words that I'm using in my speech. And immediately, in a span of, let's say, 10 sessions, a lot of our users are reducing their filler words. And that's one. You talk about pace, making people slow down, or even vary their pace in their speech. Orai does that. And we can quantitatively measure that and show the user that they are improving. Same with clarity. As you use it more and more, your clarity score rises, and you can track and measure that.
So do I have a dashboard? Way to go, Kate, you've increased 20%?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
If you go back into your previous sessions, you will see a dashboard that shows your growth as a user. But also, as you are doing your sessions, you will start noticing that Orai picks out and tells you, hey, Kate, I noticed that in your previous sessions you had 5 or 10 filler words, and now you actually reduced. Good job. So we want to give that positive reinforcement, just to a little bit of a nudge and motivation.
But it's also personalized feedback
Right.
then.
So it's analyzing your previous sessions and how you improve. Maybe you're practicing the same speech multiple times. So it'll tell you that based on your previous practice of this speech, you've reduced your filler words, or you've become better at energy variation.
Great. So what's next? How can Orai be used? We talked about the Breakthrough Communicator, which is our digital platform. How else can the Orai app be used with Mandel programs?
Orai is not just limited to this online course, the Breakthrough Communicator. If you're going through Mandel's face-to-face courses or any other online or offline courses, Orai can be paired with that, because you might have Mandel by your side for a limited period, but Orai sticks on. You can use it after or even during your course.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It's been a
Of
pleasure
course,
talking
yeah.
with you both again.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.